What's up, everyone? And today I'm bringing a deck profile on my Tenyis. Now, Tenyi is a deck that came out in Rising Rampage about like maybe a year ago. And it's a deck that kind of focuses around special summoning Tenyi monsters when you have a non-effect monster or you control no monsters. Basically, as long as you control no effect monsters, and if you have a non-effect monster, you can do all sorts of different stuff. But before we get into the deck profile, I'd like to mention to vote for which deck you'd like me to do a deck profile on this month. As a recording of this video, there is no vote because this is honestly being recorded actually on Halloween. This might be uploaded like a week or two after recording, so I don't know where the votes are right now, but vote anyways. Let's get right into the deck profile. I run 3 Tenyi Spirit Vishuda. Now, all the Tenyi Spirits, if you control no effect monsters, you can special summon them from your hand. And as for Vishuda, if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard. Target one card your opponent controls, return it to your hand. So it's really good for disrupting your opponent. I'd say this is definitely the best of the Tenyi monsters. This is the best one. I also run 3 Tenyi Spirit Aruha. Or Adhara. I was thinking of a different... I think I was thinking of Unchained, but I run 3 Adhara. Now, Adhara, if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, target one of your banished worm monsters, except this card, add to your hand. So let's say you got Vishuda in the grave and this card in the grave too. You can banish it to add Vishuda from your hand and then special summon it. So Adhara is good for comboing and getting Tenyis on the board and linking up. I also run the 3 Tenyi Spirit Shatana. Now, Shatana, if a face-up non-effect monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard and target one of the destroyed monsters, special summon it. This one isn't as good as, say, Adhara or Vishuda, but it is a good Tenyi that you can either normal summon or special summon as for linking plays. You don't really use it for the effect almost, but if it does come up, hey, it comes up. You can use it to protect let's say Monk or Berserker, for example. Next, I run the 3 Ashuna. Now, Ashuna, if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, special summon 1 Tenyi monster from your deck. So this is good for getting your Tenyi spirits from your deck to your field. So you see, this is a really good deck. It's like, I say these 3 right here, not so much Shatana, are like Adhara, Vishuda, and Ashuna are the key Tenyi spirits that you want to see. I also run the 1 Tenyi spirit Mapura. Mapura doesn't come up very often because you can target one face-up non-effect monster you control. Quick effect, banish it, a card from your hand or graveyard. Alright, so when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets one face-up non-effect monster you control, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard and negate the activation if you do destroy it. Like, that sounds like a pretty good effect on paper, but with one downside is if your opponent targets a non-effect monster with the card effect. That's not going to be very likely. During your end board isn't going to be Monk. You use Monk to get into your higher plays, for example, like Sahara or Shaman, Draco Master, or if you want to go like into an Axis Code or Appaloosa play. You're not going to end on a Monk, or you may end on a Berserker, but that's pretty unlikely as well. So I just only run 1 of it. If it comes up, hey, it comes up. Next, I run the 2 Mare. My opinion, this is hands down the best worm support in the game. Mainly because you can use this card's effect up to thrice per turn. I don't know a single other card that has an effect like that. Most of the effects are once per turn, or maybe even a soft once per turn. You can use this like 3 times in 1 turn. That's pretty good. And considering how its effect works, that's even better. Because while unfortunately Mare cannot be special summoned except by the effect of a worm monster, you can reduce this card's level by 1, and if you do, special summon 1 mini Mare token. It's a token generator, and each turn you can summon up to 3 tokens. While that doesn't work for Axis, or that doesn't work for Appaloosa, unfortunately, it works just fine for IP Masquerena, Axis Code Talker, Unicorn, the Tenyis. Or if you want to use it for single plays such as Draco Berserker or Borlo Savage Dragon. It's really good for link plays and stuff like that. So this is definitely a very important card. If you're not running at least 1, I'd say like two's the best amount, considering it's not exactly the easiest thing to get onto the field, so 3 is a little much. Definitely run it. Cannot stress that enough. 3 Ash for a hand trap. It's Ash. Pretty explanatory. Now moving on to the spells. I run 3 Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi. This card is very good. First off, all non-effect monsters on the field are unaffected by monster effects. And once per turn, if your opponent special summons an effect monster, while you control a face-down defense monster or a non-effect monster, except during the damage step, you can draw 2 cards. That is pretty good. Now, the one thing wording of this says, while you control a face-down monster or non-effect monster. So let's say you leave 1 monk and you have, like, say something else on the field. It still works just fine. Or you want to use the effect of maybe Shaman or one of the other Tenyi monsters to special summon a Tenyi face down from your deck. Either way, this is probably one of the strongest field spells I've ever seen. Like, in my opinion, the 2 strongest field spells in the game are like World Legacy and Shadows and Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi. Not for how good it is in the archetype, not for like how good it is in like any sort of metagame, but just how much it does. This is a pot of greed for Tenyis. What other field spell does that? So it is definitely, in my opinion, one of the strongest field spells in the game. I also run a 3 Vessel for the Dragon Cycle. This is your Foolish Burial and I guess Rhoda if you want to kind of think of it that way. Send 1 more monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you control a face-up non-effect monster, add from your deck to your hand 1 Tenyi monster with a different name from the monster sent to the grave. So that's your Foolish and Rhoda all in 1 card. Next, I run 3 Heavenly Dragon Circle. This is a new card that came out in Rise of the Duelist. Now, first when I saw in Rise of the Duelist, I didn't think it was a Tenyi card because I didn't even know of this card before. Like, I thought it was just a dragon card just from the name. I didn't really look into it, and I'm just like, oh, I should have looked into it. This was a Tenyi card. I didn't even know it. With Heavenly Dragon Circle, tribute 1 worm monster, and if you do that, add 1 worm monster from deck to your hand. Or if you tributed a non-effect monster to activate this card, you can special summon it instead, but negate its effects during your main phase. If you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Add 1 Tenyi card from your deck to your hand. So it's a searcher. This is essentially a way to search out your Tenyis and add them too. And you also want some draw power. I run 2 Pot of Desires. You don't want to run 3 because Desiring into Desires, that's not. And I also run 2 White Elephant's Gift. Now a lot of people might be confused as to what this card even is, because like this is a card that not many people has probably heard of, but hear me out. White Elephant Gifts allows you to send 1 face-up non-effect monster you control to the graveyard, draw 2 cards. Normally, yes, this is a terrible card, but considering in this deck you run cards like Mare, which generates free tokens, like there's 3 tokens every turn. You can generate a token, draw 2 cards. Why not? And unfortunately, I only have the 1 White Elephant's Gift because I didn't want to wait like another week to do this deck profile. And also the 1 for 1 because one of the Tenyis at Hara is a level 1. I run the 1 for 1. Now next, onto the traps. I run 3 Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyi. This is one of your negations. When a spell or trap or monster effect is activated while you control a face-up non-effect monster, negate the activation. And this card, if this side card you control is destroyed by your opponent's card, you can special summon 1 non-effect monster from your extra deck. So you can summon Monk, Berserker, or if you want to, you can summon Blue Eyes Ultimate. I saw someone do that. I don't run Blue Eyes Ultimate in the extra deck because when I was making this, I kind of forgot of Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi 4. And but yeah, I'd probably mainly use it to summon Berserker or maybe Monk. But if you want to run a Ultimate Dragon, hey, why not? I also run 2 Waterfall of Dragon Souls. This is a searcher for worm monsters, as well as 3 Infinite Impermanents because it's infinite impermanence. Next, onto the extra deck, I run 3 Monk of the Tenyi. It's a non-effect monster. I don't really much I can say. Next, I run 2 Shaman of the Tenyi. You can discard 1 card, target 1 monster in your graveyard, special summon it. The one downside to using this is you cannot activate effects monster special summon from the extra deck except Tenyi monsters. That's just effects. You can still summon, IP Masquerena. You just can't use its effects that turn. Not a problem. IP goes off during your opponent's turn anyways. I also run the 1 Draco Master of the Tenyi. If you control no effect monsters, you can destroy effect monsters your opponent controls up to the number of non-effect monsters you control and or in your graveyard. So that's pretty good as a some destruction, maybe a little bit of a Raigeki. Run the 1 Berserker, Vanilla Beat Stick. The 1 Tenyi Spirit Sahasrara, I think that's how it's pronounced. While you control a face up non-effect, monsters your opponent controls cannot target effect monsters for attacks, and also your opponent cannot target effect monsters on the field with card effects. Quick effect, you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls. Special summon 1 Tenyi Spirit token. So another token generator. Yeah, this is a deck is built for link climbing. Ignore the dog in the background. Now, I run the some generic stuff such as IP, Phoenix, Unicorn, Access Code Talker, and Appaloosa with all the tokens kind of go up into, as well as the 1 Draco Berserker and the 1 Warlord Savage Dragon. And that's all for this deck profile. Let me know, what do you think of Tenyi? Do you think it's a fun deck? I see a lot of people actually playing this deck, and honestly this deck is pretty fun to play, not gonna lie. So that'll be all for this video, and I'll see you in the next video I make. Bye.